All right. So for those of us who are here now, good evening. Welcome to the discussion of money, politics, and guns, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Colorado's Task Force on Gun Violence Prevention. I'm Rianda Osman. This evening, our guest is Dr. Sarah Bryner of the Center of Responsive Politics. She's the Director of Research and Strategy of Open Secrets, and her talk this evening is entitled Follow the Money. We're recording this session, and the recording will be posted on the League's YouTube channel. Dr. Bryner will have time to respond to questions, and I ask that you put the questions into the chat, and we'll address them at the end of her remarks. Before we start, I'd like to remind us all that the League of Women Voters is a grassroots organization that's worked since 1920 to improve local, state, and federal government and to engage all citizens in the decisions that impact their lives. The Colorado League was formed in 1928. The League neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties, but we do interact with elected leaders at all levels based on our positions on public policy issues. Those positions are formed after member research, study, and consensus. We're passionate advocates, both women and men, who work to influence public policy. And now I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Sarah Bryner. Sarah joined the Center for Responsive Politics in 2011 and is responsible for overseeing data analysis and research collaborations. Previously, she was CRP's lobbying and revolving door researcher. Prior to joining Open Secrets as a doctoral student at the Ohio State University, Sarah taught undergraduate political science courses. Her dissertation, Politicians Behaving Badly, The Determinants and Outcomes of Political Scandal in Post-Watergate America, incorporates both data collection and political experiments, and is probably still relevant. And she received her PhD from Ohio State in 2014 and her BA in Political Science and Biology in 2006. Now, this evening, we must acknowledge that money and politics are inextricably intertwined, and gun policies are no different. Sarah will help us explore the many resources available to track money in political campaigns on the Open Secrets website. So, Sarah, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am a huge fan of the League and all that you do in your nonpartisan mission. And every time I get the opportunity to speak with one of your chapters, I feel invigorated and inspired by the grassroots and local work that's happening across the country. So with that, we have a lot of data on and money is a huge factor in the gun debate. So I'm tempted to just jump right in, but I will, and I would be remiss to not give a teeny bit of background about our organization, Open Secrets. We are a nonpartisan, pretty devoutly nonpartisan nonprofit organization, officially based in Washington. Money in state politics in 2021, and now maintain two main URLs, opensecrets.org and followthemoney.org, where you can see money in politics data, primarily contributions, but also lobbying, advertisements, from legislative office all the way up to the presidency. Including some foreign lobbying activities as well. So we maintain a huge database. This is all publicly sourced information. We don't pull anything out of protected sources, but we add value to and explain the information so that people can use it to make change in their communities. Gun violence is of personal interest to me, and then also of professional interest to me, because in sort of tragic fashion, our website traffic spikes whenever there is a mass shooting. So we get a lot of spikes. One of our best days in 20, now that year is escaping me, but one of my best days, one of our best days, again, in very ironic air quotes, was the day of the Sandy Hook shooting, where people are fed up with the role of firearms in our country and want to know why politicians in America are so intractable on this issue. So we maintain data on gun violence and the gun lobby and the gun prevention lobby in actually a separate place than most of our other resources. And so I don't want to dive right to that, but I'm going to, because we also have all sorts of other information where you could look up who's donating to your member of Congress, who's donating in a specific congressional race, what are the top races across the country, and so on. But since we do go to the effort of compiling all of the gun information in one spot, I'm going to show that to you because it's the most helpful. So we update this regularly, again, due to the fact that this debate and this issue is very relevant and timely. The text on this page is probably not the most interesting part. This, by the way, opensecrets.org/news/issues/guns. I will put that in the chat. But what's really good here is this link where you can click and get to essentially all of the information that we compile on guns. Of course, it's gonna feel like the website's little demons always, nope, there we go. Come out when I'm giving a presentation. So this is a Google Sheet. And on this, I'm just gonna open it in a new window and hope it doesn't break. Okay, on this, you can see support and donations from assorted gun groups, from the gun industry. I'll go through these tabs one by one, to sitting members of Congress, congressional candidates, and so on. The first tab that comes up when I open this, last updated October 26, 2023, we'll probably be updating this again soon, is career National Rifle Association money to the 118th Congress. This gets cited a lot in media. So you can see the list of members, who they are, and then these assorted columns. And I'm going to explain what all of these are because it's important to understand the distinctions, especially when talking about a group like the National Rifle Association. And this applies, by the way, to other issue groups. APAC is one that we're getting a lot of questions and comments and sort of data queries about right now. They're very similar in a lot of ways to the NRA. So these laws and rules apply across the board. So we have NRA direct support. This is how much money the member has received from, let's find a Colorado person on here. Where's,
Sarah, could you make the type a little bigger?
yes, of course. Yeah, maybe. How do I do that? Okay, how do I zoom in?
Somewhere there's a view.
Yeah, view, show, zoom. Ta-da! Thank you for actually, is that better?
It certainly is for me. Thank you.
Okay, I see a couple of mods. I see I'm gonna lose all my vision because I'm constantly staring at spreadsheets with tiny font. Okay, here we go. Michael Bennett. Okay, well, I don't want to do a Democrat, so I'm gonna go up to these Republicans. Okay, we have Mitt Romney, Utah, nearby. And he, let me get this out of there. Okay, so we have NRA direct support. That's how much the PAC has given to the candidate over the course of his career. PAC money is limited by law. So a political action committee can only donate $10,000 directly to a candidate in an election cycle. So when you're talking about political action money, these figures are going to be small. In kind of the federal politics sense. I mean, $68,000 is a lot of money to me, but in the federal politics sense, that's not a lot of money. When the numbers get big is when we talk about the independent support and opposition. The NRA is both a political action committee and also behaves like what we call a super political action committee, which means that one of its primary ways of influencing policy is by supporting and opposing politicians through running its own advertisements. They have done less of this recently because they have their own situation financially, but they have spent in Mitt Romney's career almost $3 million supporting Romney. This is largely because he ran for president. They spent no dollars opposing him. They have spent very little money opposing his opponents in his time, although a little bit. And then they have spent, supporting his opponent, and then they have spent $10 million opposing his opponents. So that's negative advertisements, in this case, against Barack Obama. That means he has benefited from around $13.5 million in support from the National Rifle Association over the career starting in 1994. So you can see that information if you scroll for every member of the 118th Congress. Obviously, there's contextual factors at play. Or here's Miss Boebert. So 19,000, not a lot, but that's a House race. And this, again, is just the NRA. We have other tabs for similar types of groups. In this second tab, you can see the contributions from gun control groups directed towards these members, as well as from gun rights groups. Again, this is direct contributions from the groups or their employees. Long list. There's a lot of methodology over here, which is I always recommend reading. Blue, you can see how much the gun control groups spent supporting or opposing these assorted members of Congress. So all of that information pretty easily accessible. We have that money back in time if you want to go look at 2022. And then we have the total contributions from gun rights groups in from 1990 to 2024. This is wrong, it needs to be updated. Broken up by where the money's coming from. So, and whom it's going to. So in 2022, gun rights groups like the NRA gave $14 million, largely through what says soft levin. That means donations to like super PACs in that cycle. They also, do I want to go to lobbying quite yet? Yes, I do. They also are active as lobbying clients. Totally different pool of money, totally different process. Lobbying is the money that the company or the political group spends to influence policy in Congress. This is not money that they are giving to members of Congress. That would be very illegal. This is money that they are paying lobbyists in order to advance their agenda with currently elected members of Congress. So gun control groups have always been wildly outspent by gun rights groups, and that continues to be the case in lobbying at the federal level. And now we increasingly see lobbying activity from gun manufacturing companies as well, which we do include in these spreadsheets for people to have access to that information. So we also have this information at the state level. There are 19 states that make data on lobbying accessible in a meaningful way to the public. That's 19 out of 50, which is not great. Colorado is one of them, so good job. And you can see how much money gun rights and gun control groups spent lobbying in the state house and state senate in those same time periods. So again, gun rights groups spending way more than gun control groups. We have all of that. There's a lot more tabs. I do want to show this. This is goes through 2022. 2024 hasn't really kicked off yet, but I'll show you where to find that. We have the amount spent by these assorted political super PACs, and I'm going to show you these on Open Secrets during that time period. So the biggest group actually in 2022 was Everytown. So that's a little bit of a change from kind of more recent history. To get to this information outside of that spreadsheet, which is where, again, I typically direct people, you can see it all over the place on Open Secrets. One, common tool, Everytown, is just our basic search function, which I use more than almost anything else. And we have various different profiles for most political committees. Everytown for Gun Safety Victory Fund. Let's just click on them. This is a super PAC. Look at it in our outside spending section, fine. you can see, like I said, that 2020 number of around $6.7 million, largely opposing Republicans. Who are they targeting? This level of detail is where you'll get that information. So the primary person that they've targeted in 2022 was supporting Lucy McBath. Not surprising at all, given who she is and where she was running. So you can see specifically which members benefited from or were opposed by those groups. Say you want to see the advertisements themselves. I'm going to have to show you my personal Facebook page for a second, which means I'm going to have to go over here. Facebook's data resources are better than they used to be, but you still need to like log into your own Facebook in order to get anything, which is really annoying. This is a cool feature of their data that not very many people know about. And that is if you go to any page that has kind of a public page like this, Facebook has something, and they always move it to make it hard to find, under the About, this page transparency option. Let's see if I can, yeah, page transparency, which shows you a little bit about what the group is and what they do. And if you scroll and dig around long enough, you can find the ad library, yay, where you can actually go to the Facebook, Meta ad library and see the specific advertisements that the group purchased. This looks like most recently they've been active in 2024. It doesn't look like any of these are active, but right now, but you can see the ads that they're running. And if you click on the details, you'll be able to see how many people, so how many impressions they got, which is how many times the ad was on the screen, the estimated audience size, the amount they spent on the ad. And I think they used to say where they ran it. Let's see. Ad audience, ad delivery. Oh, who they target, who saw the ad. So in this case, whatever this ad is, primarily seen by women between the ages of 35 and 44 in California, New York, and Illinois. So that's a useful tool. It's not exactly like a simple data resource to review because they don't have a nice big hefty database to search through. But let's just look at our friends at the NRA, who of course I'm sure are not going to be here. I want to look at the group. This guy. So you can see the ads that they ran, and there's usually videos. Sometimes these run on Instagram. You can see that 6 ads use this text. Again, who are they or who's not necessarily who are they targeting, but who is seeing this? Not very many people, but largely men between the ages of 25 and 34, almost like entirely men between the ages of 25 and 34 in Texas and Florida. So all of that's available through Meta, through Facebook. You have to have a Facebook page in order to access it, which is annoying, but that's the way it is. That's to get a sense of what is in this content. Because this is just the money that they spent. That's largely on ads, but you don't really get a good sense of what the ad is, what they're saying, because that information is not disclosed in any sort of major location. So I'm going to give lots of time for questions, but I have some more stuff to show. I'm used to like getting interrupted and having to handle things in real time. So because I have children. So I'm going to bounce over to our state resources. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to bounce over one other place. Now, if you're interested in kind of digging even more into what's going on, my recommendation is always just to go straight to the source at the Federal Election Commission. That data powers almost everything that we have on Open Secrets, except for the lobbying information. And so on the FEC's website, and I'll share this link, this magical little contribution search that they have improved so much since I started working in campaign finance a long time ago. allows you to search each contribution made to people running for office. So if I wanted to look for people who worked for the National Rifle Association and who they gave to this cycle, I could do that. If I wanted to look for who was giving to, let's find out the recipient. Where's the recipient field? Recipient. Bovert. And who was listed as a nurse. Let's just see. I could do that. These people are list their occupation as nurses. They are employed by these assorted things, self-employed or others. You can also always, and I recommend doing this, see the individual file. So this is a nurse practitioner who donated to Lauren Boebler for Congress, and she lives in Montrose. So you can do anything like that. They give you the ability to really dig into this pretty itemized. And that could help with, understanding maybe who some of these top donors are. I like to look at like who the biggest donors are to some of the super PACs, that you'd need to go down here and sort of collect this, which is not going to work because that's not the same thing. So you can dig into it that way as well. So there's a lot that the FEC allows you to do. And I always like to direct people to it because they really have gotten so much better in the last 10 years. And I want to applaud them for that. So that's federal. Bouncing over to the state level. We maintain this very clunky website right now called followthemoney.org. We're overhauling all of this. The URL probably eventually will just redirect to Open Secrets, but the Open Secrets website will incorporate a lot of this data. But we have some cool tools here, and really the only place in the country where you can get access to this information at a broad scale. So we have a tool called Ask Anything, where you can look for contributions to ballot measures. And let's see if I can zoom on this. Yeah. By subject. So lots of different ballot measures: abortion, gun issues. Common topic. So I'm just click go. It's gonna, like I said, it's clunky. It's gonna take, well, it's not gonna take a minute because I already did this. And look, it says nothing. 56 records. That's not helpful. But if you click on election year and maybe filing jurisdiction, and you want to see the issue, like, let's see, I want to know about this 2022 gun-related ballot proposition in Oregon. What is the deal there? You can click on the little magnifying glass, display it by record, let it think for an interminable amount of time. Like I said, it's kind of clunky. And then you can see who gave to the ballot initiative committees who were involved in that issue. Since I'm all zoomed in, I can't scroll, but this has information. You can export this to a CSV file, and it has information about the recipients, who the donors are, to the degree that they're disclosed, and whether our staff has coded them or not as whatever. So 1630 Fund is a dark money group, liberal dark money group. Everytown for Gun Safety Action Fund we've seen them before. We've got some unions. Gifford's another national group. So you can do this for anything. We do have some very limited ballot initiative data on Open Secrets right now, where you can see essentially this data, but wrapped up a little bit more at the sort of on this site instead. Right now, there's not a ton of activity for any of these because most disclosure deadlines are barely starting to pass. But once we have more data coming and more information cooking, you'll get a better sense of kind of what is happening across the country. So Colorado had 2 in 2023. something about property taxes that failed, and maybe something else. So if you wanted to, you could kind of see the same information here as you can here. Just I think a little bit more wrapped up into a more clean presentation. So property tax relief now, that's the ballot measure committee. And here are the donors to it. So there you go. Helpful. So yeah, that is a lot. I am aware I just sort of threw a ton of information at you. Trying to think if I am forgetting anything, but I hope that you have questions, especially since I went through this pretty quickly, and I'm happy to go back and sort of walk through anything specific or explain anything in more detail. But guns are an issue where there's a lot of information, and I want to make sure, and where the gun groups, by the way, do everything in this space. They lobby, they give, they spend, they do everything. So it's important to be sure to kind of run that gamut. So I will look in the chat.
Would you take us back to the screen a little while ago that compared their giving money to either oppose or support, and then their lobbying activities as well?
Yes, this in this sheet.
Probably, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we have the giving for groups. There. This is 117th Congress.
There you go.
But yeah, so this is the giving and support tab, I think. Yes.
Okay. And that is in the spreadsheet.
Mhm.
And how did we get there?
Yeah. How did we get there? If you go on open, it's hard to find. So you click on the link in the chat and that's how you get there. No, we go to industries and interest groups. We have a little tab called issue profiles. And then there is our guns page. And then this blue text saying explore the information to follow the money. And that's how it'll take you to the sheet. You also, I think, if you search in the search bar, guns. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way. Is to get, it'll take you right to this profile. And you can see the information on that here.
Okay.
Yes, so this we do update them. We need to update this. We're about a quarter behind. So we update this fairly regularly as the information comes in. I've lost my, there it is. I've lost you. So yeah, any other questions or anything you want me to go into more? I can talk about this stuff all night.
You have some articles
Mhm.
on the website. Where do they come from? Are they resourced by your employees? Are you a journalist as well as a researcher?
I am not a journalist. We do write, or we employ a few journalists, really one, plus some interns. They they produce this great content. Oftentimes their best stuff is on dark money. And that's where I think we've done some reporting on the NRA and on every town. So let's check. Because they have some oh, I didn't show 990s. They have some financial trouble. I don't know if it's gonna like me searching for 3 letters. I don't look like the search works at all. I probably should get reported. We'll do it here. So on that same site search, there's a news tab where you can see any of the original reporting that our staff has produced on whatever, comes up when that tab opens. They, our journalists, the few that we have, it's hard to keep them because they end up becoming very valuable to other news organizations, like, the New York Times, or the Washington Post, and then they get stolen, paid their worth, and so on. But you can kind of search all of the news on a specific topic through that overall search bar. So I'm not seeing anything super juicy about the NRA and the early results, but that's where you'd find those articles. Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions?
Could we see the lobbying tab?
Sure. The lobbying went in here. So this is federal lobbying through 2020. This isn't correct. This is only through 3/4 of 2023. We have a whole, this is just tip of the iceberg for lobbying, actually. This is good. Good question. If I go to, we have a whole little lobbying on the far right of the homepage, lobbying overview. You can see the information that feeds that spreadsheet. So as with everything that we have at Open Secrets, we classify these groups by the industry that they fall into. So to get to the gun groups, I would go to industries. And then I would, well, these are just going to show the top ones. So actually, again, I would go to the search bar, guns, and let's do gun control. It's going to spin for a minute. And hopefully it will move. I feel like the website always slows down when I'm using it for presentations. So you can get to the industry for, oh no, see, now it's just given up. There we go. So you can get the profile page for the gun control industry, which says how much they spent in 2023. You'll notice that that number is bigger than what is in here because we need to update this. But how many of them used to work for the government? How many of the lobbyists who used to work for the government? And then their lobbying activity. So yes, Sandy Hook was in 2012. And then you see, kaboom, like the major explosion in lobbying on gun by gun control groups. So this is I can't remember which one that was called, back in the early 2000s, early part of the century, the Brady campaign. Back, they did a fair amount of lobbying. Big lull, big increase since 2012. So that gives you the ability to click on any of these groups and to see the specific folks who they hire. Who are these lobbyists? There's 9 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who you can look at their names, see who they are. If they have a little spinny arrow thing on there, you can see that you can click on that person and see where they used to work. Probably a member of Congress. And you can see the bills that they lobbied. Again, website is like objecting to me using it for a long, busy day, using it again. They lobbied on the assault weapons ban of 2023, background check expansion act. Nothing on here is going to blow your mind because this is an ideological group. They have a known point of view. And we have this nice little number of reports in specific issues. What does that mean? Doesn't really matter. They filed 4 reports. That's what it means. And if you click on it, you actually can read. It will allow you to go see the report because the way that this data is structured is just a pulling out of what's on these Senate forms. And we do provide link backs to those Senate forms that you can see what specifically the group was talking about. So this is, again, it's kind of like creaking through its searches right now, but here's where you can see specifically what they said. Issues pertaining to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, blah, 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 blah. So lots of stuff like that on those various reports. Oh, chat. How do you get stats on the gun manufacturers? That's a great question. So gun manufacturers, it comes essentially as a bunch of strings. So we'll see, you know, ExxonMobil appears in the data. And oh, I see what's happening. My internet's being weird. ExxonMobil appears in the data. We don't know until we have staff review ExxonMobil that ExxonMobil is a oil company. But we have staff review each record that comes through and identify what that company or thing is. Obviously, we don't do that with every one of our billions of records that comes through, and we know what ExxonMobil is now because 25 years ago, somebody coded it as an oil company, right? So the data learns from itself. Gun companies are exactly that type of thing. So they come in, they don't do independent expenditures, but they do give. And so you can see them, gosh, and this is going to test my knowledge of where these groups fall, but let's see. Let's see what happens. If it likes that. I don't think it will. But they fall into manufacturing. Nope, it doesn't like that. So let's see. Sector, they're in miscellaneous business, I believe. And then they would be in like small arms manufacturing, I think. And there was some pretty high profile gun companies that made donations to members of Congress, and that's why we started tracking them. But the long and short of it is that the data come to us, and then we actually just Google. I'd say it's a lot of how we figure out what these groups are. It's just Googling what they are, and then applying that designation to the group and moving forward. So miscellaneous business. Think they might be in here in miscellaneous manufacturing. So we have 2 marijuanas and only 1 miscellaneous manufacturing. I don't know why we have 2 marijuanas. Somebody in our IT department was maybe using 2 marijuanas when they built that. I think they're in here, but you'd need to kind of know the name and what you're looking for to see if they are. But I think they're in miscellaneous manufacturing. If you knew actually what the gun company was, I would probably actually go to the FEC.
How about Remington?
Remington, let's see. So employer. Did I spell that? Oh, nope. Let's get rid of, did I spell that right? 2 M's? Or is it 1
No,
M?
only 1.
Okay. See, I'm losing my Alaska upbringing card. That's where I grew up. And I guess I would have been appalled if I could not have correctly spelled the name of the.
Oh, no, drug group, it says. Seeds.
Yeah, it doesn't. So I'm seeing some Remington road groups, Remington drug companies. You know, so sometimes these groups, one of my favorite ones is like the tobacco companies always change their names because they see, now it was a manufacturer. Now it is owned by Vista Outdoor Inc. So let's see. Here we go. So you can kind of, oh, there they are. They did give somebody there, gave to the NRA some money to Katie Porter. Oh, one good thing to keep in mind, I didn't get into this, is this act, anytime you see act blue or win red, I basically tell people to ignore those, because anytime, gosh, see, I'm gonna go down my like rabbit hole of win red stuff. Donate to Joe Biden. So if you go here to any candidate page, you'll see in the URL that it says either something like secure.actblue.com or secure.winred.com, something like that. That means that the candidate has used the services of Act Blue or WinRed to do their online fundraising. This is not nefarious. These companies operate as essentially like conduits, where they build the platform, these nice donation platforms for the party of their choosing. In the case of Act Blue, that's the Democrats. In the case of WinRed, that's the Republicans. And the candidate uses that. But by nature of the place that these groups play in, they have to disclose any money that they process. So when you are seeing stuff here, Dennis Shoemaker is not giving to Act Blue. He is giving through Act Blue. So I ignore these because they will appear elsewhere. So if I were to look up Dennis Shoemaker, for example, see, let's get rid of this and just do this. You'll see that he gave through Act Blue. Ultimately, these donations are all going to get reported by these other things. So Vote Vets, I think that's a liberal veteran advocacy group. I think they do fundraise through Act Blue. Yeah, and you can click, if you click on the record itself, it'll show you that it was earmarked for AmeriPAC, the Fund for a Greater America, whatever that is. So that's what that means. Don't give any wherewithal to it. The important stuff is this juicy stuff here. So that's what that is. But yes, you could look for the companies in here. That's where we get that information. And it is, since these companies are always changing their names and getting bought and sold by things, it's always good to like check maybe the parent group or the subsidiary, or if they've changed their names, or stuff like that when doing those kinds of searches. So that is that. There's a Wikipedia page. Yeah, any other questions? Any more questions? You're letting me off easy. I still have 15 minutes, so.
Well,
I have a question. Can you download these tables?
On this, yes, you can.
Yeah.
This you can just save it as or make a copy.
Okay.
So these sheets you can.
And then you can probably sort the data and whatnot once you've saved those. Okay, thank you.
Yes. And you can also download anything that's on Follow the Money really easily. And that would be by going, like, if I wanted to look at this, I'll just do this one. And I wanted to see the records. And I know that I'm going through all of these super, super fast because it is a clunky website. And I just want to get to this part where it circles for a while. Clicking on record, I'm still kind of learning how to use it. Clicking on record is always what I do because that's when I get to see this. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see this data export, which will allow you to export the data into Excel or CSV. It will make you register, but that's the extent of it. If you're trying to download a huge amount, you'll get a warning and an alert and we'll get notified about it and have to give you like an exemption, but that's usually for pretty significant amounts of data. Yeah, and this stuff, by the way, all comes from the state campaign finance disclosure agencies. I'm not sure, gosh, I don't want to either slander or overly bolster the Colorado disclosure portal. I think it's pretty good from what my memory tells me. But all of this information comes from the various state portals. It's no South Dakota. I know that South Dakota files their reports on paper once a year. So, or something like that. So,
Colorado's better than that.
better than that. Any more questions?
Who uses your sites?
Gosh, lots of people. We get something, we've gotten, I think the most we've gotten in a year is 10 million unique users. Largely just people. If you search for something like, if you go onto Google and you search what is a super PAC, we're the first link. So a lot of people come to us just by trying to figure out what is going on their TV. We get a lot of traffic inbound. Like I said, when there's a shooting, people want to know who takes money from the NRA. When there is a political sort of mention in a debate or something, people want to know who's giving to certain members of Congress. Another popular one is who donates to Joe Biden or similar. Again, this is nice. I didn't know they did this. We're the top hit for that. So this is 2020, so that's sketchy, but we have 2024 data. But so you can, winner 2020. No, I want ruler. You can see kind of how that directs traffic to people who are just trying to get a sense of who the donors are to these folks. And oh, another popular way that folks get here is by seeing ads run by scary groups on their televisions. And they want to know what is the Committee for, you know, a Better America. And then they come and they find open secrets that way. More kind of targeted users, we have a ton of journalists who use the site every day. Those are good users. Academics use our data all the time. Those are probably my favorite groups: people, academics, and journalists. We have lobbying firms who use our data to help direct their advocacy. We have political operatives who use the data to see who's funding their opponents. I get questions all the time from candidates, well, really from candidate staffers who want to buy our data, which is illegal. So that is not uncommon. You can't use federal data for solicitation purposes. There is address information in this. You'll see it here. If you look at the form itself, you'll actually see Dennis Shoemaker's street address. So people, you can't give that information to the public, or sorry, for sale. Who else? Those are probably the biggest groups, and students, a lot of students are assigned some portion of the website to research stuff for high school classes. You'll see big bumps in data requests from like whatever high school when a report is coming due. So lots of people. I mean, we have traffic from all over the world. And I think that's great that people are finding it helpful. We should stop being on the FEC and be on open secrets, but we like them too.
Okay. Let's see. I think there was one thing that I was wondering about, and that is foreign contributors or foreign, foreign contributions. That's it. How do you get that data, and what does it look like?
Sorry. Yeah. Foreign contributions are illegal. You cannot donate to a federal or state, big state, political candidate if you are not a US citizen. Foreign companies can't donate to political groups in the US unless they have a US-based subsidiary, and then the US-based subsidiary can donate. So that does happen. That's not uncommon. Okay. What does happen, and what is super scary if you care about foreign influence, is that political groups that are what we call dark money organizations. These would be political nonprofits. Let's find one. Dark money. We have a totally different section for this. Peruse all of this. Darkmoney.org is kind of our place for maintaining all of this information. I say darkmoney.org, it directs here. I'm trying to find the chat. Chat, come back. Okay, it's just opensecrets.org/dark/money. But you can, if you're a dark money organization, let me find a group. This section's a little bit out of date, but you're a 501c4 political group. 501c4 organizations are registered with the IRS. They're allowed to spend 51% of their money on social welfare activities, which includes political spending. So they also do not have to disclose their donors to anyone but the IRS. And for better or for worse, the IRS is not a public disclosure agency. In fact, they are literally exactly the opposite. They are not in the industry of making their information public. And yet they maintain this group of organizations that are responsible for $24 million in political spending in 2022. This is a bit of a loophole. The FEC has a hard time regulating them because they don't have to disclose their donors by law. And so what happens is these groups spend money, but you don't know anything about them. Since their donors are not disclosed to the public, those donors could be anyone. It is illegal, like I said, for foreign money to influence American elections. But we don't know who is funding the nonprofits in this space who are spending money on US elections. The IRS does, but the IRS has long hated regulating political spending, and we have no idea whether or not there's foreign money entering the system. I do have an idea. My idea is that there is, but we don't know what it is, or how much, or where. I mean, the NRA got into some trouble, I believe, for taking foreign money. And so it's all up to trust that, that the political nonprofit is going to firewall the foreign money that they're allowed to receive from entering into the US election spending. I mean, sure. So that's how that would work. We can't track it. I mean, that's the point of it. We do track foreign lobbying. That is disclosed. That's in our lobbying section again. But that's lobbying primarily done, that is legal. That's lobbying primarily done by foreign agencies, foreign registrants. So they, sort of like at the country level. So you can see China has spent a lot of money. This is a lot of money. This is $4.9 billion lobbying the United States for whatever reason since 2016. Most of this is actually quite boring. This seems like it would be really juicy, but a lot of it is pretty straightforward, like tourism promotion stuff. But there is some stuff in here, I think, that can be useful and worth exploring. This is all from the Department of Justice, by the way. It's a different disclosure process.
Okay. All right. Well, you've given us a lot to think about.
Yes.
And one thing I notice is that you're using tools like Facebook, Wikipedia, and opensecrets.org and followthemoney.org, the FEC. So all of these things are available and they're public information, so we can cite them. And your Open Secrets does a very good job of organizing all of these things so that we can find it if we put our minds to it.
Yes. And if you ever need help or have a question, please email me. I'm not hard to find. I'm at s.bryner. I'll put it in the chat. sbryner@opensecrets.org. And I spend all day explaining these kinds of things to people, going through exactly the sort of information that I just showed with you. And it's exciting to know that people hopefully want to use the information that we provide to make change in their communities.
Yes.
In Colorado.
Yes, we do. Any more questions? I don't see any more in the chat. So in that case, Sarah, I'll let you have the rest of your evening back. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been fun. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone. I'm going to let you go too. Thank you. And next month, I've asked Sandra Fish from Colorado Sun to come. She's a data journalist there and is tuned into all of these issues on a state level. So we're focusing on money, and next month it gets tighter. So I'll let you go and have a good evening. Bye-bye.